My name is Dr. Craig Knight. I'm a chartered occupational psychologist and I tend to specialise in workspace, living space and how people are treated. Care homes have been around for less time than offices, far fewer years. And yet care homes cottoned on that having a bare, lean, minimalist space was a bad thing to do. And if you take a rat and you put a lab rat in a lean cage, that is a miserable lab rat. It develops stereotypies, it gets aggressive, it doesn't like being in that space, it will attack other rats if necessary. That's how we behave in that kind of space as well. If you put a little wheel in that cage for that rat, and you give it things to play with and run around, it's a much happier, engaged rat. It prefers that space. But if you say to that rat, well, I'll tell you what, where would you like to be? It would like to be in a space that it decides it wants to live. Now that might be underneath the skirting boards, which doesn't look nearly as nice as its cage, hasn't been designed nearly as well, but it's happier. We're the same. So design is great, design can improve, but the design solutions that are offered, these design-led solutions, Google, Microsoft, Red Bull, are not the great spaces they are purported to be. They are good spaces and no more. They can always be beaten by people designing their own space. How can we apply these principles of empowerment and enrichment to our personal life? Well, you can make people happier in their personal life by exactly the same controls, by letting people have more say over their personal life. Think of teenagers. Teenagers are generally climbing the walls because you're not allowing them to do what they want to do. Often for very sensible reasons, to be fair, but for the same reason, that's why teenagers climb the walls. People feel at home in a space that they can decorate, which is why home feels more like home to people in our society in something that you own rather than something that you rent, because you can change it more. If you want to make people feel happy in a rented home, let them change it. They might say at the end they've got to put it back again, but let them change it. Not only does enrichment and design affect how people feel and their productivity, but it also affects their creativity and their intelligence. And we found this out working with older adults in care. We found that by empowering them, their scores on a measure that assesses dementia, so no small measure, it decides which side of the home you go into, improved by 19% when we empowered them, 19%. And we're finding in offices that we're getting similar increases in effective intelligence, which means that people in one space will be X% more intelligent than they were in another space. Empowerment we know is important across the board, but with older adults there are some things that they can do and some things they're less good at doing. Right? For example, their eyesight may be poor, they may be fairly frail, so you don't want them lifting weights or hot water or anything like that. So if you give them control, but you let other people be under their control, then that works quite well. So for example, you might have people saying, what colour carpet would you like? What plants would you like? Let's select from the food options that are available. Let's look at pictures, colours, anything like that. It's a great way to empower older adults. It makes it their space. So if you're going to give them this very nice hotel environment, then let them have a say over how that works. It's their homes where they live. So let it be exactly that. The one word that sums up design for me would be vital. The problem with design is that its application is misunderstood. And instead of being vital, it's most often wrong.